On September 4th, 476 AD, the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustus, was overthrown by the barbarian Odoacer, marking the end of the Western Roman Empire. This occurred over 1,000 years after Rome's foundation, which had once spanned 1.9 million square miles at its height. Despite its vastness and the strength of the largest professional army the world had ever seen, the empire was severely weakened by constant barbarian invasions. By the time of Romulus Augustus, only Italy remained under Roman control. While the Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, would continue until 1453, the Western Roman Empire collapsed in the 5th century, never to rise again. The Western Empire's downfall was ultimately the result of its failure to defend itself against constant barbarian invasions and mass migrations. The Huns, wreaking havoc across Eastern Europe, pushed many barbarian tribes into Roman territory, seeking refuge. One such group, the Goths, entered the empire in 376, but were treated poorly by the Romans. When famine struck, many were forced to sell their children for food and were given little more than dog meat in return. This mistreatment led to the Gothic War, in which the Goths revolted against Rome. The Battle of Adrianople in 378 was one of the most catastrophic defeats in Roman history, with 2/3 of the Roman army destroyed and Emperor Valens killed. The Gothic War ended with Emperor Theodosius I, allowing the Goths to settle within the empire, a move that permitted them to form their own communities and join the Roman army. However, tensions remained, especially when Alaric, the king of the Visigoths, grew frustrated with Roman treatment. Initially serving in the Roman army, Alaric grew disillusioned after Theodosius's death and the appointment of his sons, Honorius and Arcadius, to rule the empire. The Visigoths, who had settled within Roman borders, grew increasingly upset with the Romans, electing Alaric as their king and marching on the empire. After several attacks, Alaric's forces besieged Rome in 401, but were repelled. However, in 408, Emperor Honorius made the fatal mistake of executing Stilicho, a respected general who had defended Rome for years. This left the city vulnerable, and in 410, Alaric returned, captured Rome, and sacked the city for 3 days. The sack of Rome was a pivotal moment in the Western Empire's decline, signaling that the empire was beyond saving. After the sack, several barbarian groups seized Roman territories and established their own kingdoms. Constantine III, a usurper, took control of Gaul and Britannia, but his forces were eventually defeated in 411. Meanwhile, Germanic tribes crossed the Rhine and looted Gaul, with the Vandals and the Alans establishing their own kingdom in North Africa. The Visigoths, after initially being allied with Rome, turned on their former ally, capturing more land in Gaul, and eventually seizing the last Roman-controlled territory in Hispania. The Visigothic kingdom was formed, further undermining the Western Empire's territorial integrity. By 475, the Western Roman Empire was on its last legs. The military commander Orestes deposed the emperor and placed his son Romulus on the throne. However, the barbarian foederati, mercenaries employed by Rome, sought land in Italy. When Orestes denied them, they turned to Odoacer, who led a rebellion and killed Orestes before marching on Romulus. At just 16 years old, Romulus was deposed, and Odoacer became the king of Italy, sending the imperial insignia to the Eastern Emperor and signaling the end of Roman imperial power in the West. The causes of Rome's fall were multifaceted. One major issue was the empire's size. At its peak, under Emperor Trajan in 117 AD, The empire spanned from Britain to Syria. This vastness made it difficult to manage effectively. Communication between the frontiers and the capital could take weeks, and coordinating military campaigns across distant provinces was unfeasible. In 285 AD, Emperor Diocletian divided the empire into two halves, east and west, to manage it better. While this worked temporarily, it ultimately contributed to the Western Empire's collapse. The West was financially drained, with most wealth concentrated in the Eastern Empire. The Western Empire struggled with constant military expenditure, as it faced constant threats from barbarians and internal conflicts. As the empire became increasingly dependent on slave labor, the lack of territorial expansion meant there were fewer new slaves to fuel the economy. The shortage of funds also made it difficult to maintain the military, leading to a decline in the quality of the Roman legions. The army increasingly relied on barbarian mercenaries who had little loyalty to Rome and more loyalty to their commanders or tribes, further weakening the empire's defenses. Ineffective leadership was another issue. Many later emperors were either out of touch or were children when they ascended to the throne, resulting in weak and corrupt leadership. The aristocracy became more powerful, while the emperors needed their money to maintain control, leading to further corruption and incompetence. The people and the army, including the barbarian soldiers, began to lose faith in the leadership, contributing to the empire's downfall. Some historians argue that the rise of Christianity also played a role in the decline. Christianity was legalized in 313 AD and became the official religion by 380 AD. Unlike the traditional Roman religion, which incorporated local gods to facilitate the integration of conquered peoples, Christianity's focus on a single god undermined the Roman emperor's divine authority, making it harder for rulers to maintain their legitimacy. Despite the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 AD, its legacy endured. The Eastern Roman Empire, or Byzantine Empire, lasted until 1453, and the influence of Rome lived on in the medieval period. Charlemagne was crowned Holy Roman Emperor in 800 AD, and the cultural and technological contributions of Rome had a profound impact on the development of Europe. The Latin language gave rise to many modern European languages, and the Roman Catholic Church became a dominant force in the West. Rome's influence, though its empire fell, continued to shape history, cementing its legacy as one of the most powerful and enduring empires the world has ever known.